Chapter 70, July 2004. It was the 4th of July. The town of Whitmire was holding a festival in town to celebrate the holiday. There would be carnival rides, food, a parade, alcohol, everything you need to get a party started. Even my dad was going. He rarely did anything but work, it seemed, especially during the summer months. I knew he was going because Mary would be there. I was thinking that they had made plans to see each other. "Are you riding with me, Dad?" I asked him as I was about to leave. He agreed that he was, although he teased me on the entire ride there. "Old man, I'm going to kick you out of my truck and let you walk there," I threatened him. He knew I was kidding. I stopped and picked up Kevin. Daddy teased him then, but I just smiled. I loved that they got along so well. Once we got there, Daddy went off on his own. I was immediately ready to eat something. I bought barbecue sandwiches and lemonade for me and Kevin. We sat at one of the tables that was set up for the diners, and we watched people. Kevin was talking about running away. "Oh, don't fucking do that," I replied to him. "Where the hell would you go?" "That's the problem, I don't know. I don't have any other relatives except for my uncle, and I don't like him," he huffed. "Maybe the two of us could go somewhere." I gave him a look like he was crazy. "My daddy's here. I'm not leaving. Maybe we can get you emancipated from your parents," I suggested instead. In the back of my mind, I let this idea of moving elsewhere bounce around. "Yeah, I want to," he agreed. He started talking about that, then stopped mid-sentence. He was looking beyond me. "What?" I asked. He was still staring, so I turned around to see what he was looking at. My dad and Mary were in the distance arguing. I shook my head in aggravation, wondering why in the fuck she had to jerk my dad around. No doubt she was telling him that she couldn't spend time with him after all. It was the same story, different day. "Maybe you can talk some sense into him," I remarked to Kevin as I went back to eating my sandwich. "He sure the fuck doesn't listen to me. You'd think he'd be damn tired of her jerking him around by now." "And just how do you suppose I should broach that subject?" he asked sarcastically. He had sauce on his cheek and I reached over and wiped it off. "Who would wipe your mush if I wasn't around?" I teased him. He made a face at me. "He asked you about your personal life, right? Why can't you advise him about his?" I added. Kevin scoffed at that. We diverted our attention back to our own business. He talked about being free and running away. I figured it was easy enough to run away, but I doubted it was that easy to be free. Not having money would be a big problem, amongst other things. "There you are," I heard Daddy say as Kevin and I were throwing darts at balloons as part of a carnival game. "Here we is," I agreed. Daddy hung around with us. David wandered upon us, and he ended up joining us. We met up with Rick and Carol at the Ferris wheel where we all went on a ride. They tried hanging with us for a while, but then Carol said something out of line as usual, and Daddy put her in her place. She and Rick drifted off. Then David saw one of his cousins, and he left us too. Daddy, Kevin, and I walked around the fair. "All these guys are looking at you and following us," Kevin said in a low voice as he nudged me and glanced around. I didn't give them a glance. I felt their energy, sexual as usual. Males had always gravitated to me, even when I was a kid. It was a given, and I mostly ignored it. "Yeah, I know," I replied in an unconcerned tone. Since I didn't comment further, Kevin talked to Daddy about it. I tuned them out. As we sat down on some bleachers to listen to a band that had started playing, two of the guys that had been following us sat nearby, glancing my way several times. The band was playing more pop than rock, but I suppose that was okay. I was just as glad not to be in their place. It was incredibly hot sitting in the sun. But one song with them wouldn't be bad. Nope, I was out in the blazing heat anyway. "Where are you going?" Daddy asked as I stood up and was intending on walking down the bleachers. "I gotta sing," I replied. "No, you don't," Kevin remarked. "Let them have their show, pumpkin," I heard Daddy say. He knew I'd steal it away from them. The band was just finishing up a song. There were 3 sets of bleachers and a good many people sitting on them. They looked up as I made my way through. "Hey," the lead singer said to me as I appeared in front of his band. He was giving me a charming smile. Probably thought I was a groupie. Maybe he thought I was going to request a song for them to play. Yeah, I always drew attention. "I want to sing," I announced. I tossed my head so my hair bounced around seductively. That was in case my magnetism wasn't at full force. He glanced at his band, then said, "Okay, I guess." He asked me my name, then threw a few song titles around, and I didn't know any of the songs. "How about Drops of Jupiter by Train?" he asked. I agreed. I could fake my way through that song. Carol and Kevin especially liked the song, and so we had played it before. I glanced at his guitar. I wanted to grab it and play a rocking guitar solo. I felt a no in the air and glanced at my dad. He was shaking his head in a negative. I wondered sometimes if he was as psychic as me or just knew me that well. The guy's band members gave him a questioning look. He introduced me, and as soon as I began singing, the crowd began clapping in appreciation. Some of the guys whistled. I really wanted to sing 10 more songs, and I hadn't even finished with the one I was singing. I looked up and my dad caught my eye. He was shaking his head no at me. I saw several more guys and a few others stopping to see who was singing. I smiled inside about that. One or two of them were pumping their arms in the air and whistling. Someday I was going to be super famous. I already felt famous. Too soon the song ended and the crowd clapped and whistled. I put the microphone back in the stand and nodded at them. As I walked back to the bleachers, people were asking why I wasn't going to sing anymore. And the band was starting another song. I reached the end of the row of bleachers where Kevin and my dad were. "Hey, what's your name?" I heard a guy yell above the music. Had he not been listening when the front man had introduced me to the audience? Kevin, Daddy, and I looked towards the voice. 3 guys who looked to be in their 20s stood there with beers in their hands. They looked like drunk, no-job losers to me. "Yeah, you, honey. You really killed that song. What's your name?" the guy asked again now that he had my attention. I was going to say something sarcastic like jailbait, and I would have if Daddy hadn't been sitting right beside me. "I'm Chris, this is Kevin, and this is my daddy," I answered instead. I was playing nice like Daddy had taught me. He talked a moment and I saw that he would have squeezed in somewhere in the bleachers had there been some room. I was glad there wasn't. I didn't care for beer drinkers with no ambition in life except to exist as a burden to society. I supposed that they existed so the cops would have a job. But he had to put it out there. "Why don't you walk around the festival with me?" he asked. "No, I'm here with my friend and my dad. It's a family thing," I explained. He tried to persuade me then. He asked for my number. The people around us were getting annoyed by our conversation. "She needs someone more her age," my dad answered for me, and I nodded. "When did you become Chris?" Kevin asked as the guys walked away in defeat. "I am Chris," I informed him. "Christmas is my first name, remember? And I sure don't want those losers at our house knocking on the door. Nobody knows me by Chris." "Christmas tree," Kevin smirked. "Shut up," I replied in annoyance. Daddy nudged me. "I told Kevin that I wouldn't put it past you grabbing that guy's guitar and falling to your knees rocking out a guitar solo," he said with a lot of amusement in his voice. "Like I'd really do that," I replied sarcastically. He high-fived Kevin over my head. "Told ya, that's what you thought of doing," he laughed. It was kind of funny. We went back to listening to the band that was playing. I was evaluating what new songs our band should learn. Kevin nudged me as a couple walked past the end of the bleachers. It was Mary and her husband. She was laughing at something he was saying. I glanced at my dad and he was watching them and seething on the inside. I could feel it. He jerked to stand up and I put my hand on his arm and shook my head at him. He gave one last glance at their retreating backs and looked downward. Kevin noticed too. A few moments later, he said he was taking my truck and to call him when we were ready to come home. "I'm sorry," I told him. He gave me a half hug and a kiss on the head. Kevin discussed the matter after he'd gone. I kept thinking about it as I tried to enjoy the festival. I found that I was angrier once I was home. Daddy was already in a pissy mood. "Cut the strings with her. She's never going to leave her husband," I blurted out. "You've known her for how many years? How many times has she promised to leave him, and yet she still hasn't?" "This is none of your business," he shot back. It was rare that we ever argued, but I felt so strongly about this. It felt like the breaking point. "It is my business. I'm tired of her hurting you. Are you going to waste your entire life on a relationship that isn't going anywhere? There are other women out there. You're wasting your life away on one woman who won't commit. Is it any different from you screwing Kevin when the both of you are in supposed steady relationships with other people?" "I had the sense to walk away," I replied back. Yeah, I'd gone too far with that remark, and I immediately regretted it. "Did you now? Do you really think I don't know everything?" "You don't know anything. I know you're still screwing him." "I meant that I broke it off with Cole, not Kevin. Kevin's a friend. I don't know what the hell Cole ever was, and we're both single now. Kevin broke up with Wendy," I shot back. We fought a while longer, both of us getting angrier. "Go to your room," he finally shouted at me. I stomped off. In the morning, I was up early sitting at the kitchen table. I was unhappy that we'd fought. We both had some truth to what we'd said. Some of it was just hurtful. I hated feeling the way I was feeling, and I hadn't slept well at all. I remembered Kevin wanting to run away. Daddy came into the kitchen without looking at me. He was sullen, although he hadn't said anything. "Daddy, do you think the best thing for us to do is to move?" I asked in all seriousness. The population of Whitmire was only about 1,500 people, including the horses. "We could start over somewhere else, like another state maybe. I hear Dallas, Texas is nice." It took a moment, but he turned to me. "Sell the ranch?" Yeah, we could move there where there are a lot more people. Somewhere where you could find a good woman. In this one-horse town, you'll never get to meet anybody new." "What about your band? Hell, what about Kevin? He'd fall apart without you," he said as he sat down at the table with me. I think Kevin should emancipate from his parents. We can take him with us. There would be more girls for him to meet, too. We could all find relationships that are better for us. I don't think we should stay here anymore. Kevin is about the only real friend I have here, and I can play music anywhere. I've never been happy here because of the haters, and I hate my school. I just think a move might be best for all of us. I could start fresh and not have to be a bully. We could all start fresh. I hesitantly looked up to see his expression. He stared into space for a few seconds. "What would I do to make a living? How would we live?" "I just don't know the answer," he finally replied. "You're a good mechanic. You're good at managing people, too. You could do construction, be a manager someplace. You could do just about anything." "Anything, huh? Will you at least think about it?" I pleaded. At first, when I'd spouted off about moving, it had just been a spur-of-the-moment thing, us running away. But now I was seeing a way out for all of us. "Maybe you're right," he agreed sullenly. David pulled into our driveway around lunchtime. I was grudgingly cleaning the kitchen and I saw him drive up. He and Kevin walked into the house uninvited a moment later. "What happened to knocking on the door to be let in?" I asked sarcastically. I realized that they were both comfortable with me and my dad and thought of my home as theirs. "I knocked," David lied. Yeah, he'd knocked and come right on in. "But what's up with you cleaning? Has hell frozen over?" he teased as he grabbed a dish towel and began swatting me with it. I grabbed the other end of the towel, but he didn't let go either. I kind of wanted to lay him flat for irritating me. "It's 100 fucking degrees outside, so no, hell hasn't frozen over. Besides, cleaning is your chore. Get to it, monkey boy," I remarked to him. He let go of the towel, remarking that he wasn't doing my chores for me. "Where's your dad?" Kevin asked. He's in the field as usual. Something is wrong with one of the cows or something. Same old crap. I'm so tired of farm life, I replied as I hoisted myself onto the kitchen counter to sit. I asked him if he'd consider us moving to Texas. What? They both asked in confusion. So I relayed the conversation, including Kevin emancipating from his parents. Oh my God, I would love that, Kevin exclaimed. Hey, what about me? Am I chopped liver? And what about our fucking music? David said angrily. I couldn't fault him on that, but Daddy sure wasn't going to take all my friends with us. Hell, then he'd be taking Bob and Nancy too. And I sure to hell wasn't taking Rick and Carol with us. I had been hoping Rick would dump Carol ever since I met them. So far, that wasn't working out in my favor. Her suddenly moving away or running away with the sugar daddy hadn't happened either, although I could still hope. I don't know, maybe after we get settled in Texas, you can come out and stay with us until you find a job and a place to stay that's close to us. Yeah, that's a good idea, Kevin exclaimed. Wow, I'd gotten his hopes up. Inside, I was just doubting my dad would ever leave this ranch. I thought we were friends. You just want to get rid of me, David pouted. Hey, you're welcome to ask Daddy if you can move with us, but I don't see that happening because legally you're an adult and you're not in trouble. And I'm only assuming he'd take Kevin if he is emancipated. I may be wrong, I reasoned as I nudged Kevin with the dish towel. He took the hint and began drying dishes as we talked. What are we going to do in Texas? Kevin asked suddenly. Get away from Whitmire and our half-assed families, David remarked before I could even reply. I nodded at Kevin. What he said, except that for me it would be getting away from everyone that has hated on me since I moved here. You know how school is for me. We all nodded in agreement then. What you got to eat? David asked, breaking us out of our thoughts. The wash needs done, I replied. He always seemed to be starving when he visited. I just don't believe her, he mumbled to Kevin, but then he disappeared towards the laundry room. He'd probably return and remark in disgust that he had to wash my undies, but I'd ignore him. It just wasn't my chore to wash clothes. I sent him up to my room to pick up the clothes lying on the floor in my bedroom and bath, and Daddy's clothes from the hamper. He huffed harder, but he did it. The table needs wiped down, I informed Kevin. You better make sure your dad takes me with y'all, Kevin said before he walked off to do some wiping. The washer was running, the kitchen was clean, and David was making pork chops, mashed potatoes, and gravy when Daddy walked in the door. Oh man, it smells good. I hope you made enough for me. I don't know how, but you sure make everything taste so good, he exclaimed. Kevin and I looked up from our guitars. He had my dad's electric guitar and I had my favorite white Gibson. We'd been practicing Somebody Told Me by the Killers. Oh yeah, I made enough. I just know how to cook. I put extra garlic on the chops because it's your favorite. I'd be handy to have around, David assured him. What does that mean? Yeah, Daddy didn't miss much. Angel said y'all were moving to Texas. I want to move with you. Daddy had a look of disbelief on his face. There was an awkward pause. Well, maybe not live with you. I mean, maybe that I could stay with you until I found a job and a place of my own to live, David hurriedly added, his face reddening. He had just graduated high school 2 months before. I certainly appreciate that you'd like to go with us, but all I said was that I'd think about moving, not that we are moving. He noticed the sudden drop in the mood of the guys. Do you really think that leaving Whitmire's going to solve your problems? He asked David. I'm hoping so. It would be a fresh start like Angel said. I could use a fresh start. And so they talked more about that. So can I move with you if you move somewhere? I'm legally an adult, a good cook, you know, and I definitely would keep the house clean. I had to give him credit for being so bold and especially talking about living with me and Daddy. He either felt that comfortable with my dad or that desperate. Did he really just want to live with us? The four of us felt like family. Maybe Daddy would let him live with us. It would save us all money and we'd have a live-in cook and housekeeper. Oh yeah. You can move with us, but don't be telling anyone else, okay? We're only in the thinking stage right now." That made David happy, but it scared me a little. If Daddy thought so much of my male friends that he'd let them move with us, then he might keep them and leave me. When he came in from the field for the night, he was angry that I had told Kevin and David that we were moving. That's when I realized he wasn't even entertaining the idea. He was amazed, however, that my male friends loved him so much. He even remarked that he didn't think he'd mind them living with us, that they felt like family to him. I hoped that if we ever did move, that he would take me too. Kevin and David told Rick and Carol about the conversation, and so now they were mad at me that they couldn't go to Texas too. It was giving me a headache. Now Rick was talking about a friend of his that had some connections in New York, and it would serve us right if he and Carol moved there without us. They'd go on to be stars while we became cattle rustlers in Texas. I wondered if this was how other bands got into disagreements and disbanded their groups. Maybe it was best if they moved on without us, or vice versa. They sure could be a pain in the ass, Carol especially.